Working on your mental is one of the most important key factors to improving in Valorant, but I guarantee you that it is the one that everybody works on the least. Now, to be completely fair, it is extremely hard to work on your mental due to the fact that it's not just like any other mechanic. You can't just go into the practice range and get better at it. Instead, you have to take it game by game and try to find the upside to what would normally be a very negative experience. But instead of you having to go out there and try to fix your mental by yourself the hard way, I'm instead going to teach you what I did to make my mental a whole lot better. This way you can improve a lot better and you don't have to go through the aches and pains that I had to go through when I was improving my mental. So without further ado, here are 5 tips to improve your mental in Valorant. Number 1 is stop playing to try to rank up. People can get pretty upset whenever they lose a rank game because they're not getting any RR and they're that much farther from being able to rank up to the rank that they want. But what you don't realize is that even if you lose the game, you're still getting something out of it. You're still improving at the game. Every time you play a Valorant game and you play correctly, you're getting something out of it. Whether you get RR, or even if you lose, you're getting some kind of improvement. You're getting some kind of experience on the game, and you're going to be that much better in the next game. Some of the best Valorant players in the world, or some of the best players in other esports as well, were completely shit on whenever they started playing their game. They got bodied by everybody. They lost so many times that they eventually became good. That is something that people can do. Every time you play a game, whether you win or lose, you get something out of it. You learn something, you learn how to play, you learn how to adapt. There are so many things that you can gain from a game, and you have to be aware of it. If you think that just because you lose a game that you're completely wasted your time, that you wasted the last 45 minutes and you get upset with yourself and you mold, then you're not getting anything out of it. That's when you're stopping yourself from being able to grow as a player. So next time you lose a game, instead of being down on yourself and being upset with how you played, think about what you learned. Maybe you learned about a new spot, maybe you learned about a new spot that was wall bangable, or maybe you learned how to counter a certain type of player. Just remember that every game is a tool and you're building a foundation for yourself. That way you can get higher and higher on the elo chart. Tip number 2 is not to tilt game. What I mean by this is that sometimes we lose a round, or maybe we get unlucky and we die a certain way and we do something stupid, something we know is stupid, right? Sometimes we force up when we shouldn't, or maybe we hold a dumb spot even though we know it's not going to be safe, and we end up dying. And what do you gain out of that? Whenever you die, you're not only hurting your team by dying, right, at an unlucky spot or by doing something stupid, but you're also making yourself angrier, and you're probably going to do it again and again. Try to play smart no matter what happens, right? I'm sure you've had games where you were in the lead and then the enemy team comes back and wins the game, and you're like, man, how do we lose that? Well, guess what? They're taking it one round at a time. Whenever you guys were stomping them, they were not letting that get to them. They weren't getting upset. They weren't, forcing a Spectre every round because they were upset. No, they played it smart. They took it one step at a time, and guess what? They ended up with the win. And that's how you have to take it. Every time you lose, no matter how unlucky it is, no matter how annoying it is, what the enemy does, sometimes you have people holding spawn with 20 seconds left in the round and you die. It happens. That's fine. But just play smart, don't do anything stupid, no matter how mad you are, and I guarantee that you're going to win more rounds and therefore more games. I have had rounds where we lose pistol round, and my team is so upset that we lost it, that most of them will force up on second round. And then we lose the second round because the enemy team has better weapons, and then we have to save 2 more rounds in order to catch up. So it's a big mess. You're going to pile up a bunch of mistakes, and you're going to end up losing a lot more games. Trust me, I've learned the hard way on this. Now this same thing could be used for ego peeking. Sometimes you'll lose a peek, right? Sometimes you'll peek mid and you'll get bodied by some chamber, for example. And you get mad, you're like, I know I can beat this dude, right? This guy's only 5 and 8, why is he one-tapping me every time I peek him? So you peek again and again, and you just end up giving that guy more kills. If you're losing a certain angle, that's fine. Don't let your ego get the best of you. You'll just get him next time, right? You'll get him when he's rotating, or you'll get him at another time, right? Because obviously he's playing to his strengths and you're just falling right into it. Sometimes people do this, right? Sometimes people will kill you at a certain spot that they feel comfortable in, they feel confident in, and then they'll tell you something in chat, and they'll be like, yo, get bodied, right? And you'll be like, man, I'm gonna go back next round, I'm gonna kill that guy, right? And you're super angry. Don't do that, okay? If you lose something once or twice in a row, just go somewhere else. They're gonna be waiting there, they're gonna expect you to go back because, they're gonna expect the ego peak, and that's what you're gonna do. And you're gonna be giving them free kills, free ult orbs, and that's that. So it's better for you to just play smart. Don't be ego peeking people. If you have sight, if you plant the bomb and you're waiting for people to come in, you don't have to go out and be peeking everyone. Just play for time, right? Play the objective and you're gonna win a lot more rounds. Now tip number 3, don't listen to chat. Sometimes people can get really upset by what the enemy team says, or even by what your own team says, right? Sometimes you have toxic teammates. You have to be careful what you read, and you have to not take it literally, right? At the end of the day, it's just a game, and sometimes you're gonna do bad, and sometimes you're gonna do good. It's just the way it is, man. Sometimes you're gonna have games where you're gonna miss every single shot and the enemy team's gonna call you trash, and there's not much that you can do about it except try to keep a good mental and try to come back. It happens to everybody. Even the best players have games where they drop 3-4 kills, right? It happens to everybody. That being said, it is a really reliable tactic that enemy people will try to do on you, right? A lot of people will try to get you very upset in chat. And if you're somebody who's, susceptible to, falling for that type of tactic, I would even advise that you turn chat off. Now, personally, I can handle chat, I can read chat and be perfectly fine, but there's a lot of us who can't handle that type of negativity, or they can't handle that type of attempted bullying by the enemy team, so it might be better to just turn that off, to be honest. And no, just because you turn off chat doesn't mean that you're a bitch, or doesn't mean that you're, you're a pussy and you can't handle it. Like, that's fine. A lot of people have to do it. Back when I played Siege every day, even though I was never really the type of person to mold, I did get pretty upset whenever people talk shit to me in chat, right? And sometimes there was over things that I couldn't even help, right? Sometimes there was things, maybe I got unlucky, or maybe they got a lucky shot and they just happened to kill me, right? It wasn't like the bullet wasn't even meant for me or something like that, right? It happens a lot. And I feel like that really upset me when people said in chat. So I would turn it off for a while. I had a few months where I didn't have chat on at all. And after that, I kind of grew up a little bit, right? I became more mature and I just realized like, hey, it's not a big deal. It's just people talking. I talk my fair share of trash once in a while, like not to be toxic, but I do say some sarcastic things here and there, right? And I do get on people's nerves once in a while. So I understand what it's like from both sides. But after that incident, I kind of turned chat back on. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be an adult. I'm a certain age. I've been playing this game forever. I can handle it, right? So I turned chat back on, and now I just think of it as, a fun little thing to read here every now and then, but it doesn't get to me like it used to. And the more you play and the more you get used to it, then the more you'll realize that it's not such a big deal, and hopefully you can get used to it as well. Hopefully you don't have to be one of those people that turns off chat, because chat is a very fun experience, right? It can be bad most of the time, but for the most part, I enjoy it. It's pretty fun to be able to chat with people on the other team. Sometimes we can laugh about funny moments or, unlucky events or whatever. So I suggest that you really try to work on it. If you really have to turn chat off, go ahead and turn it off. And maybe later on down the line, when you're a little bit more improved in your way of taking negative comments or maybe criticism, then maybe you can turn it back on. Now moving on to tip number 4, stop blaming your teammates for everything. Look, I play Valorant too, I play ranked, I solo queue most of the time, so I know how bad teammates can be. But you have to realize that not everything is your teammates' fault. This is one of the worst mentalities to have in Valorant, because it stops you from being able to get better as a player. It stops you from growing because you feel like you did nothing wrong. Every time you blame a teammate for something that they don't deserve, or something that it was actually your fault but you're trying to mask it, you are stopping yourself from growing. You are thinking in your mind that you have nothing to fix, right? I guarantee you, no matter how good you play, even if you drop 40 kills and you die once, you made that one mistake, right? You died that one time, so there is something to learn. You can improve. So people that blame their teammates for everything is just really bad. It's a really bad habit to form, especially if you do it early on in your Valorant career. Sometimes I'll have bad games, right? And I know that, we all get those teammates that don't really know what they're doing, and it's fine. It happens, right? Or sometimes a teammate can make a dumb choice and you're gonna be like, man, if my teammate didn't make this stupid choice, we would have won that round, right? And therefore won the game or something like that. But you also don't know what is going through their mind. Sometimes they might have information that you don't know. Maybe they're on Discord with another player that gives them info that they, are giving out that you don't hear. Or it could be that maybe they just think differently, right? Yeah, they think, okay, if I was on the enemy team, I would do this. So they act accordingly. But in your mind, you would have done something else. So you think that the enemy team is doing something else. And there's just a lot of variables into it, okay? It's okay to get bad teammates. We all get them. But don't make that your #1 complaint, that you have to just constantly blame them. You're not ranking up because your teammates are stopping you, because that's not possible. Whatever rank you deserve to be, eventually you'll be able to reach it. There is a impossible chance that you get bad teammates every single game, because it just can't happen. Instead of being like that, what I suggest you do is that you go into your games with a positive mindset. I have a few friends who can be the most annoying people ever, but they always enter games with a positive mindset. And at the end of the day, whether people win or lose, they leave the game happy, right? They made some friends, sometimes they add each other. Just being a positive influence on your team can make it so much easier. But not only that, once you make it positive with them, it helps your mentality as well, right? You guys are sometimes laughing about stuff, you guys can talk, and it helps your mentality, because you can offer support to people that might not know what they're doing. If you have a teammate, for example, who doesn't know what they're doing, and you haven't talked all game, and you're like, hey bro, like, why don't you not hold this, right? Why don't you not hold this instead of holding this? And they're gonna be like, man, why is this guy talking to me, right? He hasn't talked to me all game, or he said negative things all game. Why is he telling me what to do, right? But if you enter a game with a positive mentality, you enter the game, what's up guys, you're all having a good night, whatever. Next time you offer some form of critique, something that can help you win the game, your team, right? You can be like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't hold up here, maybe you should hold back here because you've been dying every round, right? If you've made a positive connection with your teammates, you can tell the guy like, hey bro, do you mind holding back here? I feel like they're gonna rush every round and it's gonna be pretty bad for you. And the guy's gonna be like, yeah man, sure, why not, right? Because you asked nicely, you made a relationship beforehand, and you know that you're trying to help, right? It's not just you coming out of the woodworks, you know, never, you haven't talked all game and you're just trying to, you know, backseat this dude. Oh, he's gonna think, okay, this guy's been nice to me all game. Why not try to do this, right? Maybe he's right. You don't challenge his ego that way. Whenever you walk into a game or you get into a game with a bad mentality and you start saying negative things, even if you're not saying it to their faces, you are challenging people's ego, right? People can sense how you're feeling. Sometimes I'm in a bad mood, right? And it's not anybody's fault but my own, but I get into a game and I'm just like, man, I really wish this dude would have done this, right? Or I tell the guy, hey man, just hold this instead, dude. And the guy can feel it. He knows that I'm upset. He knows that I'm being like, you know, trying to tell him what to do, and that hurts his ego. And I'm pretty much challenging him whether he wants to give in to what I'm doing or kind of stand up for himself and be like, I'm not going to do it just because you told me to do it, right? So that's what you're doing. You have to make sure that you enter positive, make a relationship with them, be friends with people, be nice to people. It's not that hard. Most of you are adults. I'm sure you can get away with it. Be nice to people. And I guarantee that the whole mentality, not just for you, but for your team, is going to improve. And if there is a change that you want your team to make that you feel can help the team win, and you tell them, they won't be upset about it. They won't think that you're some dictator or some backseat gamer. Instead, they might actually take it into account, which will improve your chances of winning. Now, moving on to the last tip, and the tip that everybody has to learn, is that you are going to get unlucky sometimes, and there is nothing that you can do about it. There is times where you're going to get running headshot by somebody. There are times where I pick somebody and I start shooting, and these people see me and they run backwards while shooting because they panic, and they just headshot me twice through the wall. It's happened. It happens to everybody. And there are, you know, with the amount of things in Valorant, the amount of variables in this game, there is a lot of things that can go wrong. There's a lot of abilities that can hit you when they shouldn't. Sometimes you get hit by a bullet that shouldn't even be for you, that it was aimed, you know, it was aimed for somebody else. Sometimes you pull out your ult and you die right away and you don't get to use it, but you lose your ult for the next round. Like, there's a lot of things that can happen, and it's fine. It happens, right? That's the way the game is. You might think, man, all this bad stuff happens to me. It's my fault, you know, like I'm just the worst. I have the worst luck. But then you also forget about all the times that you do it to other people, right? I'm sure you've running headshot someone. I'm sure you've shot at someone and killed somebody behind them that, you know, the bullet wasn't even meant for them. Or maybe you just randomly wallbang something and you headshot somebody, right? You don't think about all those times because all your brain does, all your mentality does, is focus on the things that are negative. And I'm a psychology major, so I'm putting my major to full effect here, but trust me when I tell you, your mind will only remember the bad things and forget all of the good things. You're gonna just constantly focus on the things that make you upset. You're gonna constantly focus on the things that you're gonna make, that are gonna make you angry, and you're gonna store them in your mind. And all you're gonna have in your mind are just a bunch of memories of bad things happening to you. So that's why it seems like that's all that happens to you, right? That's why it seems that you're the most unlucky dude ever, because that's all you remember. You don't remember all the times that you know, somebody runs and guns you and doesn't get a hit on you. You don't remember all the times where, you know, you hide in a spot and people luckily don't check it. You know, you don't remember that stuff. All you think about is the negative stuff. And once you realize that bad things happen and that, you know, it's out of your control, then that's when you can get better at playing Valorant, because you're not going to tilt as much as you want to, right? You're not going to tilt as much as you normally do, because you realize that, you know, these things happen. It's not your fault. And you should be focusing on things that are actually in your control. If you go riding your bike every day, odds are you're going to fall at some point, right? If you ride your bike every day for the rest of your life, you're going to fall at some point. Whether you like it or not, you're going to slip on something at some point. The odds are just going to happen. Now think about every single interaction you have in Valorant. Every gunfight you have, you know, every game you play. Say you play 3 games a day, that's like what? 20 gunfights, 25 gunfights a game? Odds are a few of those are going to be unlucky, right? You're going to die for some cheese ass shit. It happens. It's a numbers game. But the second you can stop focusing on that, the second you can stop getting angry over things that you can't control, then it's going to be better. Because how many times do you get into a game and you die to some unlucky stuff and then you already start tilting? You're like, man, you know, this guy wallbanged me on pistol round. If it wasn't for that, we would have won pistol round and we would have been up a round and we would have, you know, we would have gotten a second round for free. Like, just stop thinking like that, man. It's not your fault. There's not much you can do about it. That is the one time where I think the phrase unlucky is correctly used, because it was unlucky. Sometimes when you whiff, that's not unlucky. That's just you whiffing, right? And that's something where I don't think you should beat yourself up about it. That's something that you can say, man, it was my fault. I have to work on that, right? But these other things where it's just completely out of your control, just let it go. Don't let that be the thing that tilts you, right? Like I said earlier, say for example, you die on pistol round for some unlucky stuff. You're already tilting at the beginning of the game, and you're going to just lead into more losses as you go down the game, because you're going to play tilted, you're going to be angry, you're not going to want to calm as much because maybe you're just upset, and that's, you know, that's the game for you. You're going to lose your rank, and you're going to be more upset. It's going to lead on to the next game, and it's just a never-ending cycle of negativity. But anyways, brother, that is it for me. Thank you so much for staying this long. If you have, make sure to hit that like button if you like this type of content, and leave me a comment if you like these type of videos. Let me know what you want me to cover. Also, we are grinding almost every single day on Twitch, so I hope to see some of you all there. I'll leave the link for that down below. I also do Valorant coaching, so if you are interested in that, you can leave a comment down below. If you feel like you want to, you know, step up your game or find out what's wrong with your playstyle, I can help you out a lot with that. So as always, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you all in the next one.